Last week, I was humbly announced as the Dodea Pacific West Teacher of the Year. When the news hit social media, a close friend asked me, "What does it take to become Teacher of the Year?" After what felt like an eternity of reflection, I thought of a reality show on Hulu called Alone, which sums up my experience. The goal of the competition is to be the last person to survive alone, secluded in the wilderness. Through the duration of the contest, contenders are tested on how they prioritize needs, adapt to conditions, and endure loneliness. Ironically, the start of the contest begins during the fall. This adds some time pressure to the survival experience because the approaching winter means temperatures drop and food becomes scarce. Although terrains may differ, the drop-off zones are assessed to ensure that each contestant has a similar distribution of local resources. Contestants then select 10 survival gear items from a list of 40 and are issued a kit of standard equipment, clothing, and emergency supplies. In addition, they can take one photo as a reminder of their families, and then a set of cameras to document their daily experiences and emotions. The goal is to be the last person to live in the wilderness for as long as possible. And the contestants must find food, build shelter, and endure deep physical, mental, and emotional stress. Alone reminds me of the 3 critical actions that an educator must do: prioritize, being adaptable, and building relationships. When the contestants plan their survival, they have to decide which 10 tools they need for them. For example, should they bring the tarp for shelter, the bow and arrow for hunting, or an axe for general purposes? Then when they first land, should they seek refuge, a source of food, or should they begin gathering food for warmth? The contestants must understand their needs and prioritize them for optimum survival. As teachers, we must prioritize what our students need to learn. For example, sometimes it feels overwhelming to cover every one of the 40 standards of our subject or grade. Instead, please focus on a set of 10 standards that our students need to help them grow beyond our classrooms. Finally, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to prioritize our physical, spiritual, and mental health to ensure that we don't burn out, because if we do, who will be there for our kids? When the contestants plan for survival, they are initially confident in their abilities to win the contest. All of them are seasoned outdoor persons, competent in previous survival experiences. However, their plans must change once they land at their locations. For example, maybe the bow and arrow they brought is unsuitable due to their terrain. Or on the 3rd week, a tarp that once sheltered them has ripped apart in an off-season storm. The contestants must be adaptable to changes based on their environment and the circumstances. Every day as a teacher is an adventure. Some days are fantastic, and other days we are firefighters putting out emergencies left and right. Please don't give up. Adapting to the conditions takes time. Planning helps, but sometimes what happens day to day can test our resolve. Always focus on your mission, your vision, and your long-term goals. Realize that all the trials we encounter today will balance out with the wins tomorrow. And over time, our students and we will eventually be okay. The contestants' most significant challenge is the loneliness of literally being alone. They experience zero interaction with other humans for many days or months. This feeling of being alone and the lack of interactions and relations push the contestants to the limit. Einstein's theory of general relativity defines one existence only when measured against other reference points, such as time and space. Now, while enclosed within those 4 walls of a classroom, we may feel the pressure of being alone in that time and space, but we don't have to be. We are in this together. Building healthy relationships is the greatest lesson we will teach our students, and it's only in the relations that we build together can our students measure their existence in their emerging role in society. Teachers are the trusted adults that can nurture the traits of empathy, equity, and equality. Teachers are the trusted adults that keeps them safe to learn how to manage their joy, frustrations, and fears. Our students need us to break the loneliness that would be empty if we weren't there for them. and even more so, our students help us manage the loneliness that we would have felt in their absence. The great science fiction writer Isaac Asimov once said that education is not something that you can finish. So let us continue to prioritize, adapt, and build relations to keep teaching our story and cultivate a lifelong love of learning. To adhere to current DODEA CCR standards in science, one must follow the leader. The best part of our science curriculum is that the recipe for success is already provided from our headquarters. We're fortunate that our science development team put together a clearly mapped scope and sequence, incorporating all DODEA approved materials and feedback received from our previous PD surveys. Our job in the classroom is to work through the provided map with fidelity, and as the science department chair, my objective is to ensure that our entire team follows the vision of the CCRS science standards. To promote a standards-based learning in our team, we employ a variety of collaborative science and engineering instructional practices. For example, during this year's back-to-school CCRS training, we learned a modeling technique to make students' thinking process visible. Students observe a phenomenon and then sketch out a drawing or a figure or a diagram to explain what they think is happening. This process draws on a student's prior knowledge and cultural experience to analyze fresh data to make predictions on a new unit that we're studying. Furthermore, we use a feedback protocol that we call high-low buffalo. In this protocol, students dialogue to provide a positive reinforcement, high, a suggestion for improvement, low, and a random comment, buffalo, to help each other improve on their ideas and their models. This out in the open thinking process allows students to feel safe, put their ideas out there, and feel okay to make mistakes in a supportive environment. Modeling concepts is one of the most crucial science and engineering practices of our CCRS, and it's a focus of our department's guide for instruction this year. To enhance student learning and maintain a positive learning environment, project-based learning has been a game changer with my students in the past 2 years. After taking the first PBL workshop sponsored by the Pacific West District in the summer of 2020, I first experimented with PBL with my environmental science class during the school year 2021, and currently I implement PBL with all of my science classes this year. Allowing the students a voice and choice to choose their method of demonstrating understanding through guided inquiry has kept my students engaged through the learning process and keeps the challenge to achieve equitable between different students' abilities. Furthermore, to ensure students develop positive involvement and self-concept, we assure that each project sequentially increases in difficulty to keep the challenge fresh, but within the student's academic reach to minimize frustration. The beauty with PBL is that when my students create their deliverables, they are proud to infuse their diverse social and cultural interests to give their products a reflection of their personalities. Our team's focused collaboration SMART goal centers around getting students to develop strong arguments based on appropriate evidence. To do this, we focus on the claim, evidence, reasoning structure. As a team, we created a rubric to guide our students on the instruction on how we want our students to write clear and concise CERs. Over the past year, we have assessed our students quarterly using reading articles from Avid Weekly and then scoring their CERs based on our rubric. Although still a work in progress, we're starting to see how well our students state claims, how they gather appropriate evidence, and finally, how students tie in the science concept to argue their reasoning. The data was recently used for the third quarter to develop a common language on how we dialogue with our students during investigations. And for the fourth quarter, we're going to collaborate with our ELA team to further establish our CER common language and prepare common goals to teach our students argumentation from evidence.